Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing?
Hey, Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing
Hi,
good.
everybody.
Hey, Joseph.
How's it going, Larry? Long time no see.
Exactly.
I like the
Great.
beard action, Larry.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yep. If I could grow it on the sides too, it would happen there too, but it doesn't seem to do that.
Get you a derma roller.
Yeah, okay. Hey. Mr. John Brower, how's everything?
Good, Larry. Have to be on the backside. Hopefully, to come to Southern Cal and see a bunch of you all soon.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
Good morning, y'all.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Tim.
It's really
Good morning,
great
Tim.
Morning.
in person. I mean, we're in person. You're not, but it's great to see you. Anyway,
Hey.
we're going to get started in a second. Miranda's just going through and checking roll call. But she'll actually call out your names in a second to be sure that we didn't miss anybody.
Hey, Tim, if there's a possibility of giving us the dates for the future meetings for the remainder of the year, if we can pencil them in our calendars, then we're more likely to be able to come. We do want to start coming in person, please.
Yeah, you got it. The next one's August 17th.
Got it.
Which
It's
I
going on
remember.
my calendar right now. Thank you.
I'm in trouble for that one. It's my anniversary, but
Uh-oh.
and we're actually shooting Jamil, which will help, I think, you at least, for that meeting to be in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I was like, oh yeah.
Hey, bring your wife with you. We'll all sing happy anniversary to her.
Yeah, she'll love that.
Hey.
I'm kind of watching to see when we get close to a quorum. We're not quite there. So the chair, Dr. Farouk, is running late because his plane was delayed. So I get to play chair for a bit. And I think he'll probably pop in around 11 o'clock, hopefully, if all goes according to the current plan, not the former plan.
So how many people made it up to Sacramento?
Well, so far it's Joe Xavier and me and Joe's office. So that works out for him pretty good.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hey, Bob.
Bob.
Morning.
Redlow. I see Steve Levy on there.
Yes.
He is now just one name, Steve.
He's just Steve. Yeah. That's exactly,
Everybody knows.
like Cher.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
He's like Prince and Cher.
You're right.
Contained as unique
Yeah.
status.
Somewhere in between Prince and Cher. Yeah. Thank you.
I have to go through and count.
All right, for Miranda's sake, I'm going to just quickly call out the folks who are on the phone who are board members. Good morning, Annette Smith.
Good morning.
Abby Snafer, Secretary Buligiak.
Morning.
Joseph Williams for Joseph Williams.
Morning.
Mr. Larry Frank, AKA Lawrence.
Hey, you got me?
Rebecca Miller. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Emil Dada. Bob Redlow.
Good morning, everybody.
Naveen Sharma. Am I going too fast, Brenda?
It's hard.
Okay, I gotta slow down. I didn't put the list in alphabetical order to just make Miranda's morning that much easier.
Good morning, Tim, and good morning, everyone else.
Good morning.
You said Annette Smith is here?
Annette Smith is here.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Chuck Riojas is here. Morning, Chuck.
Morning.
Gotcha. Hillary Lentini is here.
Good morning, all. There is sanding going on outside my window, so I won't be on mic much, but good morning.
Okay. You'll have to show us later. Dean Filk is here. Did I say your last name right?
Yep. Phil,
Okay.
that's right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning. And John Brower.
Good morning.
John is here. Jason Hayter is here.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning. And as we said, Steve is here, also known as Steve Levy.
Yes, here.
Jim Soonen is here.
Yes, here for Secretary Dr. Mark Alley, thanks.
And Megan Murray is here.
Hi, good morning. Here for Assemblyman Mullen. Thank you.
And Cam is here. Cam Young.
Yes, I'm here.
And Michael Dyer is here for Assemblyman Salas.
Yes, hello, good morning, everyone.
You got that?
Yeah, just looking at verbally.
I'm going to put this list in alphabetical order next time.
I'm here too, Gloria Young.
Morning, Gloria.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Tim,
guys.
Tim,
I'm
on.
here. I'm
Sorry,
here, Mark
go ahead.
Arabo.
Oh, Mark. Good morning, Mark. Mark Arabo is here. Sorry,
Jamil Dada.
Oh, we got you.
Yep.
We checked you out 3 times. And I know I missed. Who did I miss?
Yeah,
Who? Oh, she's Tamiya is a guest. Tammy is a guest.
oh, yeah, okay.
What's our magic number for a quorum?
22.
All right.
Our 20, and then we have people present here, so
You got Joe.
21.
I'll go along to me, 26. Yeah, that's right. When the chair gets here, we'll be at 22.
Unless I miss someone, I'll go through and check again.
Good. Did I miss anybody on that roll call?
I don't know if you got me.
Oh, Sandra.
Yes, okay.
Sandra, Chancellor.
Okay, I
Chancellor
think that
Ortiz.
makes 22.
Oh my goodness, we're at 22. So if you don't mind, Miranda, just keeping an eye on it. And
Yeah.
grabbing folks as they come in. I'll try to notice that as well. So normally I have Dr. Fruchs sitting here running the meeting, and I'll do that until he's able to arrive. His flight was delayed. We're all pretty jittery because items are up in budget committees this morning, and Abby's monitoring, and Curtis Knotson on our team is monitoring the committee hearings. And we have a couple other staff who are watching it very closely. As you know, it's a pretty busy budget time in Sacramento. So we've got a light crew here today. Mr. Beitcher is here. Hey, Bob. Morning.
Hey. Hi, Tim.
So I'll run through just a quick kind of process talking points, and then we'll dive right into the meeting. So the meeting is being conducted on Zoom, on the Zoom platform, and in person for the first time in a couple of years at the California Department of Rehabilitation. Thank you, Joe. We're in room number 242 if you happen to be on Zoom and want to run over. That's where we are on the second floor. Only board members and staff are on the Zoom meeting. The public can view this meeting via live stream on the California Workforce Development Board's YouTube page. And in person if you wish to come and join us. A link to the YouTube page, meeting agenda, and board packet information can be found on our webpage, CWDB.ca.gov, under State Board Meetings and Archives. A recording of this meeting will stay on the California Workforce Development Board's YouTube page. Public comment is now open, and will be accepted via email at, this is a long one. How do I give folks this email address? Well, I'll try. The email address is board public comment at cwdb.ca.gov. That's board public comment at cwdb.ca.gov, or by being recognized by the chair, which will be me for a little while. All emails will be read aloud during the public comment periods noted on the agenda and will be included in the meeting minutes as part of the public record. We can allow just 3 minutes for each comment, so please make them concise. If they're too long, more than 3 minutes, we just won't get through the comment. Board members will be on mute until recognized by the chair. I don't think we're going to mute you. Are we going to mute folks? It depends on how Bob does. Okay. Just kidding, Mr. Redlow.
I wondered which Bob that was, but I know.
Board members will, I said that, to request to speak, please use the raised hand feature, type speak into the chat function, or I'll just recognize when Redlow needs to talk. You can also type questions in the chat. We'll try to keep a close eye on what goes on in the chat so we can do things in real time. Please note that anything that is typed into the Zoom chat box will be included in the meeting minutes and as part of the public record. So we are going to get started with the agenda. But before we start, I wanted to see if anybody who's dialing in wants to say anything at the top of the agenda before we jump into the items. We're very interactive because we're in person now.
Yeah. So Tim, keeping up with my tradition to speak. I'm not sure you're going to cover this, but I know that there were some changes to the governor's budget proposals for workforce, or minor changes. And I know that they came out a few days ago, but I did not catch those. Could you give a brief summary or say a few words if there were any changes to what we had from the last meeting, to what the governor's
I'll be talking about those, Bob, in a minute.
Okay, great.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Bob. Anything else before we jump into the agenda? Okay, so the first item is to approve the February 23rd, 2021 meeting summary. The meeting summary starts on page 4 of the packet, the agenda packet, so hopefully you had a chance to take a look at that. I think that would be 2022. Let me correct that for the record, February 23rd. So do you have any comments from the board on the meeting summary?
With that correction, I'll move approval, Tim.
Thank you, Jamil. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment before we finalize?
Hi, sorry, I just have one correction,
Yes, Annette.
and that is the way my name is reflected in the minutes and the attendees is incorrect. So if we can have that corrected, that would be fantastic.
Thanks, Annette. Yeah, we'll do that. Sorry about that. So we have a motion to approve it and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Going on into the updates, this discussion now, Mr. Redlow. We'll talk about the budget, handing that over to Abby Stay for the Labor and Workforce Development Agency.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I'll have a brief update that will cover 3 items in the May revise, and then I can give you a short staffing update from the labor agency. So I think the biggest change in the May revise that we're really excited about is the proposed apprenticeship innovation funding. And this would be, and this will be in hearings today, which is why we're all multitasking here. And this will support industry-led, sector and or regionally based multiple employer IACA apprenticeship programs. And so all in the effort to reach the governor's very ambitious and exciting goal of 500,000 apprentices by the year 2029, and to support expansion in what we think of as the non-traditional, non-legacy programs that are under the Interagency Committee on Apprenticeship. And this would be $230 million to be spent down over 3 years, specifically to support the ongoing costs of these programs and for classroom training. A companion piece to this that I think is very important, because we want to just support the stability and expansion of all apprenticeships, is to increase the rate for RSI funding so that it aligns with the for-credit community college rate as opposed to the non-credit rate. So this would increase it to $8.82 a training hour. And this would be an increase of 16.9 million from what was proposed in the Jan 10 budget. And the apprenticeship innovation funding, excuse me, really has two goals. It would be for support and for training. And the support function really to be established to cover the cost of running an apprenticeship program. I think some of those costs that often go overlooked in terms of the roles of an intermediary in aggregating employer demand, recruiting, supporting and placing apprentices, and then to also cover the training that would be the instruction for apprentices. And the fund would be available only to the IACA programs that have registered their apprenticeships with the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, and looking that entities could include local workforce development boards, labor unions, public educational institutions, nonprofits, industry associations, private nonprofits. And the goal is really to make funding available to kind of early startup apprenticeship programs that have launched, but need some support to for scaling and for sustainability. And so, details to be worked out. We're envisioning that funds would be distributed on a per apprentice basis and kind of a formula funding for support. And then the training to be analogous to the, and function alongside the RSI funding, also at $8.82 an hour. So, I think that's the high level update on the apprenticeship innovation funding, and much more to come, and just really hoping that's approved by the legislature. And then in order to really support this funding, there were some cuts to the specific programs in the healthcare workforce initiative. And that was reducing the funding to go to the employment training panel from 90 million to 50 million for healthcare and human service roles. And then reducing high road training partnerships from 340 million to 200 million, which is a significant reduction, as Tim and I remind each other. If someone were to tell us in December that there would be 200 million for HRTPs in healthcare, we would have been pretty excited. And then on the CHHS side, there will be about 50 million, maybe a little bit more cut on some of the programs on the CHHS side. And then Tim, you may want to speak more to this, but the May Revise also includes, as part of the whole extreme heat initiative, 17 million that would go to CWDB for high road training partnerships in a variety of occupations and settings that would be part of the state's effort to address and mitigate and respond to extreme heat. And then the only other thing I will say is that you may have seen the governor's announcement yesterday of the appointment of Jennifer Sturdy, who will be the Labor and Workforce Development Agency's deputy for evaluation. And this is a new role, a new function. One of the first priorities that Secretary Palucci had in coming into the labor agency was really to create an office of evaluation, research, and evidence. And so we're really excited. Jen's start date is not entirely clear, but her role will be to really lead evaluation throughout the labor agency and to work towards consistency and culture of learning across all of our departments. So really excited about that. So I see some hands, happy to respond.
Yeah, Mr. Brown. John, I think you.
Thanks, Abby. I just, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just a couple of questions. Are the monies general fund monies as opposed to CAI where they've been Prop 98 and sort of limited as to who the recipients are? So they're okay.
Yes.
That's great.
I know.
Then will it be DAS or the labor agency itself or EDD or who's going to be sort of
DAS?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my last question is, and I just to understand, do folks have to become a registered apprentice program first before going to the funds?
That's
a prerequisite for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Nicole, it looks like you've got a question.
Yes, thanks, Abby. I was wondering, are there any new industry sectors that have been added with the expansion of the resources in this way, or is it still targeted at the priorities we've identified?
I just want to answer carefully because I think the industries that are identified are more suggestions than restrictions.
Okay.
The intent is to broaden apprenticeship and, on the, in quotes, non-traditional side. And so healthcare, IT, so I think, the intent is to be fairly expansive and not limiting. And,
okay.
Yeah. And Diane, it looks like you had I'm sorry, Nicole, you had another question.
Yeah, Abby, sorry. I just had a follow up because I just wanted to make sure that there was going to be some money for apprenticeship programs like in the green economy, in the transitioning of people to, new opportunities in that area.
I think that's absolutely the intent.
Perfect.
And again, registration with DAS first. And Diane, to answer your question, to the best of my knowledge, the same rules for becoming registered in the state that require an LEA would be in place here. And I totally appreciate that that's difficult and would want to work with you to be as creative as we could.
Thank you, Abby. Any other questions for Abby about the items she covered or anything else? Great. Miranda, did you catch that Nicole Rice is on and
Yes.
And Diane Factor?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Moving on to the next item. First, I want to ask though if there's any public comment that came in on this item.
No public comment on this particular item.
Thanks, Jeff. So moving on to the initiative updates. As you all know, we have a standing item on the agenda where we allow the staff, the heads of our 3 units, actually we have 4, but 3 of the units will report out to talk about the work that we've been doing, updating you since the last time we met. So I'll start with Pradeep, who's actually in the room with us, and the Research Policy and Legislation team for a quick update.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to break up my remarks as I usually do into the 3 categories: state partnerships, talking about policy and legislation, and then talking about research. There's a lot of engagement between CWDB and other state agencies. We worked with the Department of Rehabilitation on the Assistive Technology Advisory Committee and the California Committee of Employment with People with Disabilities to discuss how we can better serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and how DOR programs can interplay with workforce development programs. CWDB coordinated a successful Prison to Employment Summit on March 1st that brought together a diverse group of practitioners, including local boards, state agencies, and community partners, who shared and discussed lessons learned from the first round of state investments in serving the formerly incarcerated and justice-involved populations. The summit had over 500 participants. And continuing with looking at the Corrections Workforce Task Force, the Civil Service Subcommittee met this month to discuss opportunities for another prison hiring event. The committee is looking to work with Caltrans to host an event at a women's facility in the Central Valley, where they will return home to the Los Angeles area. We are awaiting word from the warden and looking at having it in the fall. We're also working on, as all of you know, in the climate area, and the goal is to operationalize and advance the high road vision towards carbon neutrality. To do that, we do that through giving presentations to and collaborating with and moderating events that involve climate-related agencies and topics. Examples include the Public Utility Commission that voted unanimously to adopt responsible contract standards that we have developed in the new statewide heat pump water heater incentive program. We debriefed the standards with the PUC staff and to understand the implementation process and the ways to assist with developing program guidelines based on the adopted standards. We met with GOBIS staff to share our respective efforts, discuss key issues and opportunities to collaborate on the Lithium Valley work. Additionally, we attended a community forum on inclusive economic development in the Salton Sea region and discussed next steps of policy and program implementation to support high road industry development with new energy access in the UC Riverside Center for Social Innovation. While this report on the climate effort we are reporting out in the branch that I lead, I'd like to stress the fact that this is a collaboration between all our three branches when it comes to climate activity, both in terms of the program branch and the high road field branch. We had the state partnership moderate the workforce development workshop discussion panel during the Lithium Valley Commission public meeting on February 24th. In preparation for the panel discussion, CWDB met with panelists, provided feedback on the UC Berkeley and HRCC presentations, and developed talking points with Chair Paz, who on the Lithium Valley Commission. Additionally, we developed a proposal for coordinating industry and workforce research and community organizing. We presented on transportation and electrification, labor issues, and provided equity recommendations of driver groups at a California Public Utilities Commission workshop on clean miles standard implementation. Continuing in the climate area, we helped coordinate with the California Green New Deal Coalition to submit written comments in support of the proposed decision on responsible contractor standards for the heat pump water program. The vote was postponed in April, but it allows us to follow up with additional organizations to provide comments and support. We developed budget trailer bill language for the Lithium Valley work, including gathering feedback, and we discussed the latest local organizing workforce research efforts with New Energy Nexus, an international nonprofit that supports clean energy entrepreneurs with funds, accelerator, and networks. Finally, we met with the California Energy Commission to continue the conversation about developing an MOU and discuss next steps of moving the work forward. The net result of all of these efforts is to raise the profile of CWDB with regard to climate resiliency work and putting forward the high road vision. In addition to the climate work, the state partnership team worked on regional coordination efforts. And for the last 3 months, we've been focused on a couple of things. One is to put forward the regional equity and recovery partnership applications that we received last week, May 6th, and we're starting the process of reviewing the application. The RERP grant is a coordination between CWDB and the Office of the Chancellor, and we are looking to work with the Chancellor's office to coordinate on a joint review of those applications. In addition to that, we are working with the Office of the Chancellor to come up with a data list and a common data dictionary that could be used and help the grantees or the grantees collect data that has information not only on the workforce development side, but also on the community college side. We also issued an RFA for evaluation and technical assistance that was released on April 25th for a grant term beginning December 1 through 2022 to September 30th, 2025. The applications for that RFA for both technical assistance providers as well as the evaluation of the RP is due June 10th. Going to the next is looking at data administration and management. We're working on several fronts. We're trying to finalize both the workforce metrics dashboard report and the CPL impact study. The CPL impact study was sent to agency, and agency had comments, and we are working to address those comments, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll have a finalized version of that report. The workforce dashboard metrics report is being worked on in terms of making sure that we meet the accessibility requirements to place that on our website. We are preparing reports to the legislature for both those, for the impact study as well as the workforce metrics dashboard report, and looking forward to submit that by in the month of June. We are also re-engineering the CalSkills database to move it to the cloud, and we're working with the California Department of Technology to do that, and we're moving forward, and the expectation is we'll have that done by the end of this program year. We're also doing data analysis from our phase 1 CalSkills report, and looking at how can we get additional data from our partners, and working those within our partnership agreements with those partners. The goal here is to create an analytic of both, not only a database that can be used for reporting CalSkills information, but also use it for an analytical database that can be used as part of the CWDB research work. Moving on to research and policy, we're coming to the end of 3 of our third-party evaluations, Ajcc, Breaking Barriers, and RPI. We have, by the end of this month, we expect to receive a final drafts of those reports, and staff is reviewing them and providing comments back to the third-party evaluators. P2E evaluation is underway for the first round, and there is much discussion with CDCR and other key agencies that work with this population, not only for evaluation, but inclusion within CalSkills as well. We have put forward a contract with the UCLA Labor Center on third-party evaluation for High Road. Both HRTP and HRCC. And in addition to that, the CWDB researchers and the data and administration management team are jointly working on how best to safely gather data on non-VO grants and making sure these efforts interface and align with the CWDB Salesforce event. With regard to policy, we have we submitted a 2-year state plan modification to the U.S. Department of Labor. We received comments back and have made the corrections, and we have submitted that to the U.S. Department of Labor for further review, and we expect to hear back from them hopefully within the next month or so. So the local memorandum, we are now working on this local and regional plan 2-year modification and working to make sure that we get that placed for public comment soon and for the 30-day public comment. And then we'll work to finalize that and working with our local workforce boards on that. We're continuing to work on memorandum of understanding, updating the MOUs, which are due at June 30th. And last but not least, we are, as I understand it, we have WIO performance indicators, and those have been accepted by the Department of Labor at the state level, and now we move on to the local workforce boards. So that's the end of it.
Now the camera moves slowly back to me. Thanks, Pradeep. Appreciate that.
I didn't even know I was on camera.
You were on camera. Okay. We'll let you know next time. Thanks for that report. That's a lot of detail. I'm going to save questions till the end because we've got 2 more to go through, hearing from the program team and Joelle, and then the field team with Aida. But just one point I think I want to make on what's happening in the research world at the State Workforce Development Board. So we've got, as you know, a lot of program work we've been doing for some time, and the State Workforce Development Board isn't built necessarily to do program work. Our intention is to stand up program around the state that will do proof of concept, the kind of sector work we want to drive, but also program work that helps to align the workforce system. And so the evaluation work is intended to inform the policy side of the house. So we're doing program work to help drive system change. And at the same time, using what we learned there to help us with policy work that also is intended to improve the workforce development system. This is the mandate of the State Workforce Development Board, both in the federal law and the state law. The other parts of the evaluation work we do, the Ajcc, which is also known in some quarters still as One-Stop Career Centers, America's Job Centers. The last C is California. We have 200 plus around the state of California. And we started an evaluation of the Ajcc some time ago, and it's coming up to a conclusion. So we're really looking forward to what the findings and recommendations are from that evaluation, because as you probably know, a good portion, a good percentage, most of the WIOA funds that come into the state of California are invested through the Ajccs. That's the place where people go to seek not just services to find a job, but also an integrated system in how they can access services to find good jobs.
Tim,
yeah.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I neglected to thank Sandra Sanchez and her team.
That's right.
To help in coordination for the RERP grant. Without their help and in terms of not only facilitating conversations with the community colleges, but working with us on getting the internal workings of that grant, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So Sandra, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sandra. So the Ajcc evaluation is part of our mandate continuous improvement of the workforce development system. And then Cal Skills, and many of you came to a special session that we hosted to talk about the Cal Skills and the impact report that UC Policy Lab is still working on for us. Those both are system evaluation for the purpose of system improvement. So I say all that because we're really looking forward to the agency, and Secretary Pujai has taken on as a priority this work of evaluation and using data to really drive our decision-making and the policy work we do from Sacramento. And the new Deputy Secretary for Evaluation is going to help to coordinate that work across the departments within the agency. And I think that's something we're all looking forward to. Abby's been doing a lot of this coordination work, and I think it's been really institutionalized now at the agency. So that's a good movement. Okay, I said no more questions, including from me. So I'll move to the next one. The program team is run by Joelle Ball, and I think she's on.
I'm here.
There you are. All right, Joelle, take it away.
Great, thank you. As I've updated previously, we have been developing solicitations on the Salesforce platform. So now we have a really good framework so that it should only take us, a couple weeks to develop any future solicitations on the platform. That doesn't include developing like the actual RFA and all the other pieces that go, but now that we've developed it on Salesforce, it should be a quicker process from that standpoint. We've also been working on grant management modules, and so that we can have our internal functions once the grants are awarded, that we can move from Excel spreadsheets and those types of applications into Salesforce for managing grants. So the first modules that we developed that will be tested and released and in production by the first week of June is fund management. So that is everything from a budget allocation every year through the liquidation through invoices at the grant level. So it's every level of fund management. Modification requests. So if there's any modifications needed during a grant period, we've developed a process for that in Salesforce. We've also developed the invoicing in Salesforce. So all of our contracts can do their invoices through the system instead of exchanging emails. And then, as I mentioned before, the Excel spreadsheets that my team has developed and used to track all of the functions in grant management, those functions are now developed in Salesforce. And again, all of those pieces will be in production by June 6th. And for us, that means the Accelerator 10 grantees will be able to check their status of their grants and begin to interact with staff through the Cali Grants portal starting June 6th. And then the other grants that we award will follow and will also be in Salesforce. All future grant solicitations will be built into the online system, and therefore all those grants will be managed there. The next modules that we're going to develop in Salesforce include data capture, which is a lot of the information and work that Pradeep's team does. So they will be heavily involved in that module, and then also reporting. So all the quarterly reports will be done through Salesforce. And then lastly, in grant management, there's a lot of other modules in grant management, but one of the last things that we're going to do is legacy migration of previously funded programs into the platform, both for grant management if they're still active, but also to capture like the closeout and end results so that we have everything in one place. I'm not sure if we mentioned this last time, but part of our building out of our capacity at the state board, we've added a solicitations unit, which is going to take that workload off of the program branch. And that is getting all these solicitations out, and it's also developing them on the Salesforce platform all the way through award and contracting. So that unit is going to take those responsibilities. And Mike Rosetta, who used to be on our prison to employment team, and then went over and worked with Abby at the labor agency, is now back standing that unit up, and he's doing a great job. For Accelerator, the 9.0 group, they're having a peer learning community of practice on June 28th that's going to focus on outreach and recruitment best practices. And then the 10.0 accelerators are mostly awarded. There's a few that we're waiting on for my secretary's action request approval. And then once we have all of them, we will post the full list on our website. The RPI 3.0 closeout materials are due June 1st. Just a reminder from one of my managers. 4.0, all of the regions elected to take a 3-month extension to bridge the gap between their 4.0 work and the RERP. And as Pradeep mentioned, the RERP applications are in and currently being read. For breaking barriers, the first round that was AB 1111, that is closed. And again, as Pradeep mentioned, we have an evaluation drafted and is being reviewed by the state board staff. And the second round of breaking barriers, the Foundation for Community Colleges is going to take the lead on the solicitation just to help us out with some capacity. And it will be out on the Cal eGrants portal in late June. Prison to Employment, the 2.0 will be released on the Cal eGrants portal in mid-June. Let me just check my calendar real quick. That will be June 13th. The Prison to Employment will be out, and that's approximately $20 million for regional projects, technical assistance, and evaluation. For high road training partnerships, the WIOA funded projects will begin, or they actually began April 1st. And then the 21-22 funding that we got, we put into the Resilient Workforce Fund, also on the Cal eGrants portal. That fund will remain open as long as there is funding and we're within the encumbrance dates for the dollars. So anytime applicants can go in and complete a grant proposal, which will be read and then recommended through the Secretary's action request and then invited to apply. There are 5 contracts that are being executed currently out of that fund. That includes the certified nursing assistant funding. And then we received 34 grant proposals by the April 15th deadline, and those are currently under review. And then the next cutoff for grant proposals is July 1st. We are trying to establish some sanity on the rolling basis, so it'll be on a quarterly. So grant proposals will be due the first day of each quarter to be considered during that quarter. And then lastly, the high road construction careers, the HRCC Resilient Workforce Fund has been stood up on the Salesforce platform. It is currently open to receive grant proposals through Cal eGrants. That funding is closed to the Building Trades Council regions. And then the first cutoff date for that is July 1st, just to receive grant proposals. So happy to entertain any questions after Aida's update. I will have to excuse myself around 11 o'clock to go to Salesforce development. So thank you very much for having me today. You're on mute, Tim, if you're talking.
Did you want me to go, Tim? We can't hear. Okay. We can hear you. So I don't know if you had pitched it back to me, but I'll go ahead. Hi, good afternoon or good morning. Feels like afternoon to me, everyone. So I want to start out by sharing that on April 20th, we did a session on HRTP impact sessions, information session for the board members, and open it up to the public. So thank you for all that make time to attend. There's often many questions around the impact of HRTP. So we were able to sort of do some level setting and show, share the history of the phases of the HRTP initiative, heard from UCLA in terms of their evaluation and the framework and where we're, the direction that we're going on to in the future. But more importantly, heard from some thriving projects from the California Transit work and from Shirley Ware Education Center to that, we're part of the 2 of the 8 demonstration projects, and we're sharing how they've been able to really take their programs to scale. Shirley Ware announced how they trained upskilled 30,000 workers last year in healthcare. So I think we really show that big impact that often we're not able to capture necessarily with the mechanisms that we have, or if we're capturing just the specific grant proposal versus the impact of the overall partnership. So thank you all for attending. I believe we have recording of that. So if folks, and some really good videos that folks were able to share. And so if folks are still interested, we'll make sure that you can have access to hear about that. A couple of big announcements too. We've been working for the last year or so in partnership with the governor's office and with labor agency. Abby, thank you for your leadership and coordination around getting some of this work initiated around establishing a high road training fund and really building out a public-private partnership. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a press release announced. The California Workforce Development Board is working closely with JFF, who will administer this fund, which is a philanthropic fund. Started with some seed money from the Irvine Foundation and the Lumina Foundation, and we're in conversations with a variety of others. And what we found in great interest from philanthropy to look at the HRTP model that really takes a comprehensive and holistic approach of addressing worker needs and community needs and industry needs. And there was a lot of engagement in the field and with projects and philanthropy. So really looked for an opportunity to create a fund that can really do some matchmaking with the goals of a foundation and the needs of a project on the ground, whether it's HRTP or HRCC. Often public funds have limitations on how they could be used, or we have timing issues, or there's other types of services that workers need to support the work. Also seed funding for new partnerships to come together and pilot some of their programming. So this fund has come together. We're very excited, and there's a lot of excitement from the philanthropic community of making this connection and doing this public-private partnership. So we expect the first cohorts of HRTPs and HRCC supported through this fund in the later part of this year. And we've been doing focus groups with a variety of stakeholders, including projects themselves, to get a better, deeper understanding of what their needs are. And again, JFF really taking the lead on helping set up and administer the fund. So we're excited about that. I also want to share that there's been, now that things are sort of opening up a little bit, there's a lot of activity, again, a lot of momentum. We've been presenting a lot at different conferences, different convenings, different summits, both virtually and in person, sharing the high road model. We've had Rafael Aguilera, one of our field specialists, head out to Kern County, an area that really is looking at how to take the high road model approach sharing with community members, community-based organizations, labor, higher education, and industry representatives to learn about the high road model. We were also had a pretty strong presence at the Building Partnership Conference. Thank you, John Brower, for the invitation and for allowing space for a lot of the projects, the high road training projects, to share the work that they're doing and the impact that they're having in their industries. We'll be also participating and work on and sharing the information. But we're also doing a lot of convenings with folks at the Department of Labor, also at other states that are inquiring, whether it's local boards or state boards or organizations that want to learn more about the high road model. And just want to share that, you know, the support from this board has been really important for California to lead the way in how, you know, workforce development should happen. And what I would like to do is actually share in April, last week of April, we were able to go out and visit. We had a team, a pretty sizable team from the California Workforce Development Board, including Tim and others, that joined Secretary Pugliese to visit on the ground, visit some of these partnerships. And so I'm going to share, as I report on these visits, going to share. Hopefully I'm doing this right. A couple of images for, oh, what did I do? Sorry. One second, let me do this again. Once again from the beginning, here we go. Do you all see that?
No, it was there, but went away. Yeah.
Okay, I put my notepad on top of it, and okay, so I'm gonna, darn it, I had it all set up. Okay, here we go. Do this. All right. Okay, that should be it. You see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we went to visit. So we started off visiting the hybrid construction careers hosted by the Apprenticeship Readiness Fund, and this was at the East Los Angeles Occupational Training Center. It's a partnership. It is a site with LAUSD. As we shared before, there's 12 HRCCs, 12 regions throughout the state. This one alone has, you know, over, I think it's 17 sites. It's either 12 or 17 different sites within one HRCC. So a lot of times when we say, oh, we have 12 HRCCs, it doesn't mean we just have, 12 locations. That one HRCC can have multiple. So this is the one that we visited. And this was a partnership with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And so the participants that come from this program all have already been serviced and provided life skills training and been vetted and are being supported prior to coming into the pre-apprenticeship program. And again, a partnership with LAUSD. And we were able to talk to workers, see what the training that was taking place, and folks were able to hear and do a question and answer with the Labor Secretary, as well as learn from the participants on how this program is life-changing for them. And it shows a variety. These are the variety of partners that come together under that hybrid construction career program. But it was really impactful to hear directly. Oftentimes, we're looking at reports and we're looking at, papers in front of us and we're looking at funding numbers, but to really get out there, and often we engage directly with the grantees, but to really get out there and to see the web of partnership and the support that's there to support workers to go into good jobs and have equitable access, regardless of what barriers folks might be facing. But this was a great visit. Again, this particular location is a partnership with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. Then we headed out to the Electrical Training Institute of Southern California. It's a JATC with the electrical workers in a partnership with the National Electrical Contractors Association, which is the employer group. Our HRTP specifically is funding the energy storage and microgrid training and certification. That's the actual name of it. So as we look at, there's a need to create and build these microgrids, right? That's actually going to hold all this energy that we want to produce. And so this is just, again, one location of 20 different JATCs where our HRTP is supporting. So we were, again, able to talk to workers about, what, the good wages that they're currently having. These two workers in particular are apprentices. And so they will be journeying out, I believe, in a year or two. And so we're able to talk to workers, see what the training center looks like, and hearing from instructors too on what some of the needs are. We also were able to learn how their own facility works in terms of energy efficiency. And so this is a lot of the work that that the apprentices, once they journey out and work on locations, are going to ensure will have the skills to ensure that we have energy efficient buildings, and they're doing that in a building that is meeting those standards as well. And we actually got to see some of the signs. You could see we were all very surprised. Maybe others already know how big signals are, light signals are. So it was a great opportunity again to see the center, to talk to the employer group, to talk to the union leaders, and especially talking to the workers. So there's some folks from our team learning about the program. Then we headed over, this is all on that same day, headed over to a high-rise building in downtown Los Angeles, visiting janitors trained by Building Skills Partnership. We were able to meet with the employer, with the building owner, and community groups, as well as the workers. These are workers who've gone through a vocational ESL program, and we're going through the Green Janitor Education Program. And in the pandemic, we're also piloted the Infectious Disease Certification Program. And with that program, BSP has now hit the mark of 1,000 certified janitors since the pandemic around infectious disease. And what we learned from this group was the importance of being able to take the training at work on paid time at the beginning of their shift. And they shared their stories around the pandemic, around being seen as essential workers, and being, many being scared. When you go in, we had so much unknowns around the pandemic, and especially at the beginning on how the virus was transmitted, but being able to show up to work and ensure that buildings were being cleaned, and workers who were still, tenants who were still, office workers were still going, felt safe, and that they felt safe as workers as well. But they knew that they had a responsibility and a duty and take it very, very seriously. And these are, I'll also share that we had when the pandemic hit, because there's a partnership in place, they were able to pivot and develop the infectious disease certification statewide with over 40 janitorial companies to implement in hundreds of buildings throughout the state. And you can see there behind this really pretty picture, all of those buildings have janitors cleaning every night. When our day ends, their work day is just beginning. So to implement a program across thousands of sites across the state, not just, hundreds there just in downtown LA, but if you look at, high-tech, biotech, buildings in Silicon Valley to buildings in Sacramento to high rises, it's quite a feat what this partnership can do. And I'll just add that the property manager there did also mention around the Green Janitor Program that they've seen results, there's bottom line results in terms of energy efficiency, waste diversion, water conservation. And I think that that's again an added value to investing in workers. And the following morning, we headed to the Hospitality Training Academy. We actually went to a graduation. Our board chair and Tim was there, executive director, as well as the Secretary Blugiai, to visit and congratulate the graduates of this program. But a few weeks ago, we were able to visit them while they were in training. And this is, again, a partnership with HERE and a variety of employers in the LA region, hiring line cooks into good quality jobs. And we were able to hear from each of the apprentices in this program. It's exciting to share that all of the participants graduating from this program, 100%, have a job offer when they finish their program next week. And so there was a graduation event yesterday to celebrate them. And there were many partners present in a lot of these partnerships. You've got community-based organizations, you've got the local boards involved, you've got some community colleges in some instances. So it's just great to be able to get out in the field and see the impact of the work and hear directly from workers. There's so many things that we're able to see when we're there in person and talk to the partners and see the excitement of employers saying, this is where I'm going to hire from because this is quality work and we're getting what we need, and having folks come together. And oftentimes we don't always see that, you know, from our office, right, or from Sacramento. So it was just exciting to be able to participate in some of those visits. And those are the things that I wanted to highlight. And, you know, our field team, just want to really give out a shout out to our field team, Rafael Aguilera, Mark Cowan, Tanya Burke, Nick Esquivel, Sandra Hamami, and Tyrone Freeman, who really working really hard to ensure that the projects on the ground have the support that they need, and continuing with, you know, with making connections amongst them, providing them technical assistance and guidance on their partnership, but also doing a lot of coordination with, as mentioned earlier from my colleagues, with the program branch around the grants management side, right? We're getting the resources out. So we're very, very involved with the team around, with the program team around those solicitations and that screening and the reading and identifying the priorities and the elements of what we're looking for in these partnerships, and really learning also from the ground. Through those applications, we also learn what folks are thinking, their creative thinking. And so, you know, we continue to evolve, and also, again, coordinating with the research team and Pradeep's team. And, you know, as he mentioned, there's still some alignment that we've got to figure out, because if we're doing things differently, we can't measure them in the same way. And also it's a lot more dynamic when we talk about the partnership building, these industry interventions. If we're going to make long-term changes, we really have to measure, you know, look for a way on how we're measuring those interventions with the industry and those partnerships, right? We're having you know, employers at the table and having worker voice. So we're still trying to figure all those pieces out as the initiative grows, and you know, want to make sure that we're good stewards of the resources and what it's intended to do. And so we'll continue to lead with those principles and values, and as we stumble through it, but, you know, doing it as a team, and you know, excited to see where the work has come up to now. And so that's the end of my piece. I think as part of the field report, I'm going to hand it off to Shreyas to talk about the AB 639 panel meeting that also happened in late April.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It also feels like good afternoon here in Sacramento. It has been a busy month, a busy year. I'd have more colorful language, but we'll just get to it. So yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about our implementation of Assembly Bill 639. This is a law that the legislature passed and the governor signed in 2020 to look at how we can mitigate the employment impacts of automation at seaports, and in particular, the ports of LA and Long Beach, or the San Pedro Bay port complex. Really, we're tasked with overseeing a process to do some research and come up with recommendations to the legislature to, again, mitigate the employment impacts of port automation. And so just a couple of highlights of what's happened so far this year. The first step was labor agency, the secretary appointing the port industry panel. And we had a couple of panel members that had to drop off, and so we had to go back and find some new panel members. So the panel was finally formally appointed, I believe, in March of this year. As per the legislation, the panel includes representatives from the Longshore Workers Union, as well as from terminal operators at the two ports. The directors of both ports of LA and Long Beach are also on the panel, and Secretary Palugi sort of unofficially chairs the port industry panel. And so we were able to have our first meeting at the end of April of the port industry panel. Everybody on the panel was in attendance, including several of us from the State Workforce Board who have been working to plan these meetings for several months. Actually, I should mention that the other entity at the meeting was the UCLA Labor Center. That Labor Center has actually, we're contracted with them to actually manage the research, actually facilitate the panel meetings, and do some other, I'm sure there's other things that will come up as we work on implementation of this law. So the first meeting, again, end of April, April 28th, we had a lively discussion. There was some good networking for folks to meet each other. And, really the takeaways from that is that we had a lot of great, we found, I think, more common ground than differences of opinion amongst the longshore worker labor members and terminal operators on the panel, which was surprising to some, but very heartening, of course. And then the other takeaway is that there was great enthusiasm from everyone to meet much more often than we had intended. We had intended to have the panel meet quarterly, but I think we're going to be going every other month in order to just keep the momentum, keep the energy going, and also to make sure we have plenty of time to do the research, to get out there in the field and do surveys of workers and terminal operators, and actually meet the deadline in law, which is to provide a report to the legislature by next June or maybe July 1. I don't remember the exact date offhand. So we're aiming to have the next meeting late June or early July. I've just been on emails all morning trying to start that scheduling process. So I think I'll leave it there. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those. But let me also just say real quick that perhaps at the next board meeting, after we've had the second meeting of our port industry panel, I'd be happy to share some more details of the discussion. But I think I'll keep it high level for now, since we just had the sort of first introductory meeting so far.
Thank you, Shreyas. Can folks hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for fixing that. That was a lot of information. I did want to allow Aveen also to chime in on the LA Long Beach Port meeting, if you want to, Aveen.
Oh, well, thanks, Tim. Well, I think Shreyas did a great job giving a summary of the work that has gone into setting this up and how the first meeting went. He did omit how much work he and the team have put into it. They put a lot of effort along with the UCLA Labor Center to get this together. Really, it's a first of its kind panel in this environment. I can speak from personal experience down here at the Port of LA that in looking at the impacts of changes in technology, there really isn't a lot of research in this space that's, I think, different than what is already out there that's pretty standard. So it's really exciting to see the board's leadership and the UCLA Labor Center engaged here. So look forward to the future meetings.
Thanks, Aveen. On that same trip, we were in the Inland Empire for an IE Workforce Summit, and I'm going to wait a second on that and maybe ask Jamil to chime in. But before we do that, I know there were a lot of questions, so I want to take those, and I'm having trouble seeing hands raised. So if folks have questions, please raise your hand again, so I can see it on the screen. There was one that came in from Hillary that Aida answered. We do collect demographics, and we are looking at women in these programs and access to these programs. It does depend a lot on the sector, as you might imagine. There's a lot of work, though, in increasing the number of women in the construction trades, for example. So the cohorts are reflecting the kind of diversity that we want to see. And we're actually going tomorrow to visit a program in San Francisco, High Road Construction Careers, an element of it for the Bay Area that is running all women cohorts. You'll see that more coming up in the future for High Road Construction Careers. I think the percentage of women in the trades is quite low. I don't see Jeremy on the phone to confirm what that percentage is. In addition to that, Division of Apprenticeship Standards and the Department of Industrial Relations are working on increasing the percentage of women in the trades. So it's a focus of ours. It's a focus, a very, very strong focus and priority of the secretary to make sure that we're creating access to everybody who's been locked out of prosperity with a real focus on women. Any other questions there? Thanks for that question, Hillary. Appreciate that.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, Jamil.
Sorry to bother you. I'm gonna have to leave in 15 minutes. Can I just touch on our Inland Empire Summit, please? Thank you.
Thanks.
So 2.5 weeks ago, we had an absolutely amazing event in the Inland Empire. It was a joint San Bernardino County and Riverside County Workforce Development Boards put on an Inland Empire Workforce Development Summit with Secretary Paluja as the keynote speaker. We had about 225 people in attendance, lots of questions from the audience. We had a panel that discussed what the future would be, how we really, we have underserved communities in our many underserved cities in our region, but our region is the fastest growing in the whole state. In fact, Riverside County is the fastest growing county in the state, and San Bernardino is, I think, up there in the second or third. So we were really grateful for the secretary and for Tim to come out and do that. But also before the summit that morning, we gave the secretary a tour of this site in Riverside County, where the Riverside Community College District is planning to build a Inland Empire Trade and Technical Center, much like similar to the one in Los Angeles County. So we're excited about the possibility of that as well, because that'll really help to upskill more of our youth in both the county areas. And as you know, in our 2-county region, we have 5 million people. So thank you, Tim. If you can add something if you want, you were there, but we appreciate you and the secretary making yourselves available for us.
Yeah, thanks, Jamil. It really reflected the kind of regionalism that we've been pushing around the state, and it's just, we don't have to push because the 2 counties in the Inland Empire are doing this coordination work across those jurisdictions for some time, and it's real easy to see the depth of the cooperation, but also the shared vision that Jamil and Dr. Farouk and Joseph Williams brings to that partnership in the Inland Empire and around quality jobs, equity, and climate resiliency. It's really just profound. So we were honored to do that. We're actually, Dr. Farouk and I talked about this, and this is what we aim to do in the near future, is to use that Workforce Summit in the IE as a kind of a jumping off point to do similar events in every region of California and to engage you folks in those regions where we want to have these kind of listening tours, but also engaging the workforce boards and the California Workforce Association and also our higher rate training partnerships and other program partnerships that are working in those regions. So we're going to kind of roll out, to be determined the dates of this, but roll out this kind of a series of these regional listening tours. Very excited about that. Now that we're able to get out in the field and talk to folks, we're anxious to do it. So we've been, I've got blisters on my heels from so much walking. Not used to wearing my nice shoes that much. So I actually have tennies on right now. You can't see them, and I won't show you, but they're pretty white. They're pretty nice. I want to, unless there are other questions, do folks have questions on, and we just gave you a lot of information, so feel free to ask for clarification or questions about anything we presented. Nicole, I see your hand up there.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I was just wondering on lines to what Hillary was asking about the demographics for the programs, if we were collecting all demographics. Particularly, I was interested to make sure that all disadvantaged communities are getting access to these programs, and if we need, if we see, especially for women, but just all disadvantaged communities, if we need to think about doing some additional research or different, not research, but outreach and different types of outreach to communities that we see are in lower numbers for their access and participation in these programs, that we do that. So people, in our great efforts to make sure people are getting access, that we're breaking down all barriers that could contribute to that lack of access.
If I can clarify something, and I don't know if this is Pradeep may be able to answer more further, but I just wanted to clarify because I didn't want there to be the misunderstanding that 3% of women in all of our programs. That's not it, right? Each industry, I think that might have been a 3% maybe for construction. I'm not sure what that's
for the current
referring
construction.
to. Yeah, so which is very, very different than all of, in the other areas. And so that is, one of the demographic data points, as Pradeep shared earlier. So there's a system we're using to collect participant data. There's been some challenges still collecting it, but we're working with the projects on how to get the real data, right? So if we're having challenges with the system, but we know folks are being trained, we want to make sure that we're capturing that. So we're working on that so that we have that information. I'll add to, and Pradeep probably speak more in terms of all the different demographic data being collected. I'll just add that with the projects that sometimes we have to look also at that funding source. Like for the CCI, a lot of the HRTP is funded right now through the California Climate Investments. Because it comes to GGRF, they require that we reach what they call priority populations, and they have their definitions of it. But many times it's intersectional, right? We have workers who have intersectional experiences. So looking at capturing all of those, all of that information, right? There's a lot of targeted populations, and not just targeted based on workforce systems definition. So that's another thing that we're struggling with, is like, well, we all, says target populations are these, but we're like, wait, what about, there's a lot of these other pieces. So we're definitely, that's the piece that we're in the middle of really coming together between field, program, and data, right? To ensure that we are capturing those impacts. And one of the things is, whatever we decide is the data we're collecting for impact informs the grant management, like what we're going to require of grantees, that then it impacts what the program looks like in the field. So it's really circular. It can't, it's almost a chicken and an egg. It can't start in one place. So that's kind of in the middle of what we are right now, is trying to fine tuning and using the opportunity of Salesforce to say, we want to know, people of color. We want to know if they're climate impacted communities. We want to know, education levels. We want to know gender identity. We want to know age. We want to know a lot of things. But so I know that sounds like a lot of different pieces, but I don't know if Tim or Pradeep want to add on to sort of the list of different data that we want to collect on participants.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can see it too, just so you know.
Okay. Nicole, just to follow up on what Aida said, the AB 1111 evaluation report that's just being completing, they actually have identified 21 target populations that they're looking to break down those barriers. Not all of them are being used within the grantees, but one of the things we could look at is look at those 21 and see where there might be some underrepresentation in terms of—
I'm sorry, what?
Would you like me to come pick you up?
That would actually be great. That way I don't have to walk over there.
Yep. I'm on my way.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Bye.
Sorry about that. So just to complete, I was just saying we're looking at those populations, and we'll be including that, not just for breaking barriers, but including that in all our grant work that is there. So we're collecting that information, even though some of them may not apply, but there's so many crossovers. I mean, the 21 target populations are not unique. I mean, those barriers are multi-dimensional in terms of a single individual, and that's what we're going to try to look at as we start collecting this data.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. If I can, just real quickly, want to share a story because I was traveling for work last week and in and out of rideshare, vehicles. And I always strike up a conversation just because I like to talk to people. And I was amazed by so many people who were interested in upskilling, things as simple as just computer skills. They know there's a lot of jobs out there that are open, that in a lot of opportunities, but they just didn't know where to connect and get the information. So I found myself, trying to help people find, those access points. But that just got me to thinking, and especially with the reports this morning, that we're doing a lot of great work, but some people may not be finding where that work is happening, or not being able to, access it for whatever reasons. So I just thought that I would raise that this morning as, something for us as the board and staff to consider, making sure that we're getting that information out, because these were basic things, that I could have spent maybe 5 or 10 minutes with this guy and got him to a place where, he felt comfortable on the computer to be able to apply for some of these jobs. So just a little example to make sure that we're, getting that information out there so people know how to access it and get to where they want to get in their careers.
Thank you, Nicole. That's really, we actually have up next, and I want to get to her soon, Tamiya Brown, who runs the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board. So in our partnerships with local workforce boards that cover every corner of the state and the Employment Development Department, we need to be sure that we're making that access very easy for people, but they know that those access points are there. That's also very important. I know a lot of workforce boards do very good marketing, like in Sacramento. I think SETA does a terrific job. You can even hear them on public radio talking about where the access points are. And colleges, I think, are getting better at coordinating with workforce boards or vice versa to be sure that the multiple access points are coordinated so people don't get confused. So I think it's a terrific point, Nicole. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, I don't see any thumbs up. I mean, I don't see any hands. I see thumbs up. Thank you, Hillary. So the next item, and this is a standing item on all of our board meeting agendas. We want to hear from local workforce development boards around California. There are 45. We've had several come in and report to us about really critical work that they're doing in their jurisdictions around the things we've just been talking about: equity, access, access not just to the system but to quality jobs and family sustaining jobs, and even what the workforce boards are doing around climate resiliency. And there's a lot of terrific stuff that we've heard about. Tamiya and I go back quite a ways. She is one of the most talented, creative, amazing workforce development practitioners in the state. She's been on the front lines for a long, long time. I met her when I was wearing John Brower's shoes for the California Workforce, the California Labor, what am I trying to say? The California Labor Federation. I'm sorry, I didn't have enough coffee apparently, Tamiya. Met Tamiya back then. We were running layoff aversion work, and she became a leader in that work. And now she's a leader at the state level. She's running the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board. I'm so honored to have her join us. I think I told you we'd get you on here about 11:15, so I'm a little late. But I'm going to hand the mic off to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's an honor to be here today, and thank you for that warm welcome. Appreciate everyone's time. I'll try to be brief. Really want to share the work that we're doing in Contra Costa County. Contra Costa is the lead agency for the East Bay Works RPU. And we've been investing in the healthcare sector, way before the pandemic. I just want to, acknowledge my predecessors and just acknowledge how long this work has been going on in the region. I want to thank, the Bay Area Health Partnership for their work and their integral and the Red Low team spearheading this initiative for this Bay Area region. But today I really want to, share what we're doing to move the needle in addressing disparities and underrepresented people of color in the healthcare occupations. And as we try and attempt to move them into quality jobs. So we embarked on employment training contract where we were working with healthcare providers for new hires and multiple employers. So we designed an EMT program and a medical admin training program, kind of like, entry level into the healthcare sector. So we focused on job placement, retention, and wage performance requirements, which are elements of the ETP contract. So we met 100% of those. And so now, you know, as we move into the next program, we're looking to scale up and expand, you know, those two programs. So a little bit about the medical administrative program is we partner with JVS, Jewish Vocational Services. We targeted people of color with significant barriers, underserved communities. We started with a small cohort, right? 19 people. 19 people successfully completed that program and were placed in jobs at UCSF for about $23 an hour. You know, there was a wide range of placements: women's health, pediatrics, radiology, oncology, and reconstructive surgeries. So then we embarked on the EMT program, which we're starting small. We want to get this right? So we recruited 24 people of color, 70% women. We worked with our LEA, Contra Costa Community College. We designed prep courses to prepare individuals to ensure, you know, their success. We used our online learning system. We ensured they knew anatomy, physiology, medical terminology. We provided monthly stipends and completion bonuses because we know individuals from these populations don't have the income or support from their families that they need to be successful in training. We hired full-time tutors, life coaches, and other supports. And just understand that we are braiding multiple funding levels, right? WIOA, ETP, and strong workforce dollars through the community college. 19 of these participants graduated and moved into the direct jobs with American Medical Response, which is the AMR response as EMTs. And then the rest of the individuals decided to pursue other careers in nursing and emergency services. So as we're continuing to build this pipeline, this pathway, right, we're really investing in this work. So we were awarded a WAF 10 grant. So now we're trying to scale up all of these efforts, right? We're working with our partners across the Bay, Alameda County, and we're going to scale and replicate these models that we have already. Sorry, come on in. Give me 1 second, sorry. I got some cleaners here, hold on. Okay, thank you. All right, sorry about that. As we move on down the, let me hurry and get through this. Okay, so we also went after a Department of Apprenticeship grant, and this is where, you know, another step of this pathway, right? We are looking to move our EMT program into paramedic apprenticeship program. So we're working with DAS to get an apprenticeship program for the paramedics, right? So we're moving our medical admins and our EMTs into paramedics. Another step in this pathway. Now, as we strive to meet the elements and objectives of a high road training partnership, we have brought on multiple partners. You know, we're ensuring that we have our worker voice. We're working with the labor, SEIU, the Joint Employer Education. Again, we're bringing on the ambulance companies, hospitals, and local firefighters, the local firefighters department as well, to partner in this initiative as we kind of really build this pathway in healthcare. So, you know, just from that piece, you know, I just want to ensure that we are focusing on communities that are underrepresented in quality jobs in healthcare. We want to get this right. We started small. We're making sure we work out all the kinks in our programs. And now we're ready to really scale up and replicate this across our East Bay work region. So if you guys have any questions, I just want to acknowledge I have my staff, Jed Silver here, who's really the project director on all of these initiatives. And if anyone has any questions, or, you know, Bob, if you want to comment, I'm open to that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Bob, please chime in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Many of us from the Workforce Board years ago committed to working with our local workforce agencies, workforce boards, because we think that's part of our responsibility as being board members as well. And of course, dedicated to the work. I just, in the East Bay, I run the Bay Area Health Workforce Coalition, which is a coalition of all the health providers in the Bay Area. There's always been a little tension, right, between the employers and the workforce boards, between the employers and the community colleges, et cetera, which I won't go into. But, since Tamiya has been our leader in the past year or two, all of those tensions have been relieved. Those barriers have been broken down, and we're really working as a team. She brought Jed on to help coordinate some of the work. Obviously, we do the health. There are other sectors as well. There's a huge advanced manufacturing group. All four of the East Bay workforce boards have all turned over leadership in the past year. And we were all really worried about that, right? Because, all four leaders in 1 year is quite a lot, but it's really led to open minds, innovation, the ability to really move toward diversity, hiring from the local community, et cetera. And Tamiya has taken the lead, not only in the Contra Costa Workforce Board, but across the East Bay, helping out all the other leaders who are fairly new. So it is a pleasure to work with them and really uphold all the principles that we've been talking about at the California Workforce Board, all the things Ayada laid out in her speech in terms of trying to recruit from the community, have worker voice. This is all embraced by these workforce boards with Tamiya's leadership. So it is just a pleasure to do that. I think Tamiya mentioned, I'm not sure. So one of our cohorts of our EMT program, which is primarily women, which Nicole, you'll like, and others, has its graduation on May 19th of this month. And we are so proud of that. And we really made that happen because of the braided funding method between the Workforce Board, ETP, WIOA, and all the kinds of funds and principles that we talk about at the Workforce Board level. So just a big, big thanks to Tamiya for her leadership and for moving forward on the kinds of principles that we're really embrace in the Workforce Board. And thank you, Jed. That was it.
Thank you.
So much. Any other questions for Tamiya or for Jed or Bob? I thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and being with us. This was very inspiring, and we'll keep track. The one thing that Bob said that I thought was really important here is the engagement of the boards in the work in the regions, board members, and this is a great example of it. We have a number of board members who do this, who play this kind of liaison role and support. It even turns into program work in many cases. Jamil, obviously, and Dr. Farouk, Bob, clearly, Diane Factor, John Brower, Larry, Rebecca, Carol, I wrote a bunch down, Annette, Leonard, Jeremy Smith. There are a lot of folks and more. I missed some folks. There are a lot of people on our board who are playing this role of understanding what the vision is at the state, where the money is, also that we're putting out, and what we're thinking about, and playing that kind of communication role with the regions and with the good work on the ground and making these connections. Did I mention Aveen? A lot of folks are engaged in this. So the regional events that we plan to roll out that Dr. Farouk has really been pushing us to do, gladly, it will help to connect this work up more with what you're thinking about, what your priorities are as board members of the State Workforce Board, and how we can help kind of move this agenda that we've put together amongst us. I think the next item is other business, and there's just one, I believe that's the next item. Any other questions, just chime in, please, because I'm having trouble seeing hands from this far away from the screen. I need better glasses, apparently. If there are no others, and I don't see any up on the board, the next Oh, I know what we have to do. No, I'll wait on that. The next board meeting, as I said, is August 17th. So we are planning to go to Los Angeles. This is something Dr. Fruch and I talked about. I think it's good now that we're doing this hybrid approach to board meetings to start moving it around the state, not just hold them all in Sacramento, which is easy for me and our staff. But frankly, we have staff all over the state now. So maybe it's not so easy for the staff to always do it in Sacramento. That's the plan for August 17th. We're going to also put together a list of dates beyond then, so you can start marking your calendar up. I know that some folks do want to be in person, so you'll need those dates in advance so you can make sure that you can make it if you want to. One other point I want to make real quick, it came up a couple of times, Gloria and Hillary, as we go out in the field and meet with programs, we're going to be much more deliberate about inviting you all, if we're in your region, to come and join us for those events. And if you've got ideas about what we should come out and see, the secretary is really interested in being in the field. This is why, in fact, we've been doing these tours largely so that she can see firsthand what's happening with this work, because I think that's where you get the best sense of it, is actually to show up and talk to the workers and talk to the people who are driving the training. So if you have ideas for that, please let us know. We're also going to make sure we invite you when we're in your region so that you don't miss. The other thing I want to say about other business, I don't have anything. Is there any other business from the folks, the board members? Before I move to public comment, the final public comment.
Hey, Tim, this is Shreyas. Do you want me to talk about the event?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Shreyas. Thanks for reminding me. Yes, please talk about the AAPI event.
Yeah, hi again. Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, everybody. May is AAPI Heritage Month. And on Monday, we organized a first of a kind event for the Workforce Development Board. We decided to put together a public event, an educational event to celebrate AAPI Heritage Month and really focusing on the contributions of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in this country's labor movement. It's an untold history, and as somebody who grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the other side of the country, this is a history that we were certainly not taught, and I think even people here in California that has a very rich history of this is largely not taught in our schools. And so we had a really awesome lineup of speakers. We had Kent Wong, the director of the UCLA Labor Center, give us a history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in this country and the labor struggles. And this month also marks the 30th anniversary of the founding of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, APALA. And Kent was one of the co-founders of APALA 30 years ago in 1992. We also had a panel of speakers, including our board chair, Dr. Fruch, Susan Minato, who's the co-president of Unite Here Local 11, and also a co-founding member of APALA, and then Jazzy Grewal, who's the legislative director for United Food and Commercial Workers, Western States Council. I organized this event with other staff here, other AAPI staff here at the Workforce Board. So I want to give a shout out to several folks, Curtis Natsan, our Chief Deputy Director, who was involved in the planning, and Carrie Chang, Dennis Tran, who put the flyer together. Several folks who are not AAPI were very involved in helping us put on this event. Anna Champ, our communications manager, and Ross Villegas and Tyrone Freeman, Miranda Love. So many people helped put on what was a really great first event. My hope was that we'd not only be informed, but also inspired. And I think we accomplished that. We had rave reviews. And I was also hoping that, my little tagline was like, we're going to laugh, we're going to cry, we're going to be inspired, we're going to be informed. And I think we can check off all of those. I'm going to put in the chat here a link to the video of Monday's event. We live streamed it. And for those who weren't able to tune in, you can check out the video on our YouTube page. I also got a copy of the recording yesterday, and so we might try to edit that because I know that the cameras on the live stream, we were all very dark. We are dark people, and we were very dark on screen, so you couldn't really see us, unfortunately. Cameras aren't set up for people of color, maybe. But it was really a beautiful event, and the first and hopefully not the last of this kind of event to really celebrate Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and really, we should be thinking about events like this throughout the year to celebrate the labor history and those folks who are often left out of our stories about this country's labor movement. So with that, I'll throw this link in the chat, and feel free to check it out at your convenience. It was about a 2-hour event. So just as a heads up for folks who want to check it out later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shreyas. I would have been destroyed if I got through this and ended the meeting without that update. That was a beautiful event. And Susan Minato from Unite Here 11 commented, she said, I thought, why is the State Workforce Development Board throwing an event like this, an AAPI Heritage Month event? And then she answered her own question. It's like, this is exactly what the State Workforce Board does and should do. And we're excited about thinking about other similar types of events we can pull together and host. It was beautifully done, and yeah, you said it all, in fact. There are a couple of questions up there. Leonard, Joseph, we'll start with Joseph. I thought somebody else had their hand up, maybe took it down. But go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, first I just wanted to commend you and the team for just the inclusion and how much things have changed over the years. I've been on this board for quite a while now, and just seeing the work that you all are doing to include other communities and like with events like that, it's just really cool to see. So thank you for doing that. I had 2 comments. I want to continue to express my interest in seeing a youth subcommittee or some type of work where we begin to think about the strategy and being able to build capacity at the local level for strategy on how youth are served throughout the state. I think it's really important that this board be able to provide some technical assistance and guidance. I know your team is still doing the research and analyzing the feedback from the local areas, but I just want to keep that on the radar. And then the last thing you talked about ideas from the board, thinking about the $97 billion surplus that the state has, and just thinking about the recent compacts that were made around unifying the higher education system. If there are any ways that we can see where there are partnerships between K-12, workforce boards, community colleges, and universities, would love to be a part of, touring and just seeing where in the state, those 3 or 4 or 5 entities are really working well together. Here in my area, I'm trying to really get Ajcc on the community college campus, or at least get the county to put staff on the campus and get the local workforce boards to invest in providing a paid work experience for in-school youth. And so just, want to continue to press that, but just in terms of having opportunities to see partnerships like that, would love to be able to observe and learn from areas who have something like that happening.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. The regional planning implementation work, and now the regional equity recovery partnership investment that we're making. And yeah, we can talk about this more with the board, and maybe it's part of what we think about for those regional visits. Those dollars are intended to align community colleges, K-12, and workforce boards, along with community-based organizations. And we've made a lot of progress on that, and we've even got some data on how well that's going. In fact, it's demonstrated in a lot of our higher ed training partnerships and our higher ed construction careers as well, that the colleges play significant roles in that work, as do local workforce development boards. So it's really interesting to see that the partnerships have been kind of built with past investments. And as we go out and stand up more and more program, you see that alignment just there naturally. So it's really good to see. But I think it would be interesting to kind of look at what the scale of that alignment is and what it looks like and how we can build on what's there. So I think that's a really great suggestion, especially K-12.
Yeah, one additional thing to think about is if you could figure out ways to get some education out to school board members, and you know, I serve as a trustee of a local district, just educating them on you know, what the workforce system is, because they have a great say-so in how K-12 moves and how the community colleges move from a policy standpoint. If you want to get them to move faster or in a different way, if you can figure out how to educate the local elected officials that oversee those entities, I think it'll go a long way. Because in our trustee meetings, like, you know, seldom do we, you know, hear engagement from local workforce boards or economic development agencies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you. Excellent. Leonard?
Hey, Tim, how you doing? Thank you. I'm on the road, so I apologize if I have a bad connection or anything. But what I was going to mention is you mentioned earlier, you know, I really appreciate you and the staff doing the tours and site visits. I think you mentioned you were coming to the Bay Area tomorrow, but I think it's actually Friday. You guys coming up to see City Build in Mission Rock with Josh and Ken?
Yes, it is Friday. It's not tomorrow. Gloria, it's okay. Not tomorrow, it's Friday. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, it's Friday the 20th. Yeah. So I don't know that I'll be there. I actually have a nonprofit board meeting, but my director of training and our instructors will be there to do the training for Mission Hiring Hall, Mission Rock, and City Build. And then also just on a personal note, if anything that happens, you know, in NorCal, if you don't decide visits, please feel free to include me, because we cover that area and we'd be happy to come out and visit. And chances are we might be involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it, Leonard. Yes, and we always have to look for a chance.
Right. Thank you, brother.
Very important.
Exactly. Thank you, brother.
You bet. Any other comments, questions? I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat, but if I miss something, please call it out. We are at the end of the agenda. I stalled as long as I could to see if Dr. Farouk would come and join us. He's rushing over in a cab. I don't know that he's going to make it before we actually chime off. So I can't delay any longer. We're going to have to move to public comment at this point. Jeff, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Tim.
Jeff's going to do a dramatic reading of public comment.
Thanks, Tim. We had two comments. The first one is from Anna Alvarado from the California Edge Coalition. It was actually in response to the executive committee meeting. It said, good morning. The public is trying to view the executive committee meeting via Zoom or via YouTube channel as instructed on the agenda, but it is not showing on the page. Is there any other way to view the morning's meeting besides in person? Thank you. I did respond to her via email. That meeting was canceled, and apparently we didn't get the word out, so we apologize for that. So the second one here is from Aaron Rosh, American Transparency in Boca Raton, Florida. It's a short email here directed to Angelo Farouk. Pursuant to California Public Records Act, this is a request for a copy of the following records: an electronic document which lists all California Workforce Development Board payments for the year ending 2021. At minimum, each vendor record should include the vendor name and payment amounts. The principal purpose of this is to make this information more accessible to the public and to access and disseminate information regarding the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. This report is not principally for personal or commercial benefit. Our agency is just exercising the general rights of the public. For these reasons, we are requesting a waiver of fees. If there is a charge for these services, please obtain my approval in writing prior to proceeding with the request. All documents can be emailed to california@openthebooks.com or mailed in electronic format. Report format would be CSV or XLS. If any documents are not provided in the format specified, please provide the state or federal statutes relied upon for that decision. If any record or portion of the record responsive to this request is contained in a record or portion of a record deemed unresponsive to the request, I would like to inspect the entire document. Under the Open Records Act, Freedom of Information Act, all non-exempt portions of any partially exempt documents must be disclosed. If any records or portions of records are withheld, please state the exemption on which you rely, the basis on which the examination is invoked, and the name of the individual responsible for the decision. Thank you for your prompt consideration of my request. If you have any questions or if I can be of any assistance, please email me at california@openthebooks.com. And there is no public comment on YouTube.
Thank you, Jeff. And as you see, Dr. Fruch did join us. So we're going to start the meeting from the top. We're going to go through it all again, if that's okay with everybody. I wanted to hand the floor over to Dr. Fruch for a second before we actually turn.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. And my apologies. Apparently, a bird flew into the engine.
Before you took off.
Before we took off. From my earlier flight. So my apologies. So I just wanted to mention two things. One is I know you guys spoke a little bit about the tour, but the one thing I really want to emphasize is I think it's very important for the system to have this two-way communication with our regions and for the administration to be able to share the kind of investments that are happening on the ground. But it's also really valuable for all of you to be as involved in this process as possible. It's just to support your leadership and for you to help convene the key people, even beyond the regional workforce leaders, wherever we visit the part of the state that you represent. So I just want to encourage that, and feel free to reach out to us proactively if you want. The last thing I want to mention is the National Governors Association convenes not just the governors throughout the country, but also the state workforce leadership. And so we are in preliminary discussions. There has to be a formal vote and everything, so it's not official, but we're hoping that California will actually be hosting the National Governors Association and all of the state workforce board leaderships throughout the country here next year when they have their annual convening. So we're initially looking at Los Angeles. So for those of you that are there, it might be the physical place. But again, it would be special board meetings, and we could have an opportunity to showcase our national leadership. The high road training partnerships in particular are of great interest to NGA. They actually want to feature it in some of their national efforts. So it's really a reflection of the great work that all of you are doing and the recognition. And so stay tuned as we hopefully get further along in that process, but just wanted to share those updates as well.
You want to take a motion?
So I'll motion to adjourn. Does anyone
No move.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So we have an hour. Did Sandra, were you trying to? Okay. We have an hour extra. We're out an hour earlier, so thank you all for your patience. And meetings adjourned at 11:57.
Thanks. Great meeting.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, everyone.